Right now, as you watch this, BlackBerry software is running inside the dashboard of over 275 million vehicles. The operating system inside your car, inside hospital robotic surgery equipment, and inside military aircraft is BlackBerry. This is the invisible software layer behind the secure communications infrastructure used by NATO. It is the same company the world buried a decade ago, a brand whose stock fell 97%. That engineering philosophy created the BlackBerry Enterprise Server. It sat inside a company's own firewall, relaying encrypted data through a private network, where the IT department maintained total control. By 2005, the United States government and the Department of Defense had standardized on this architecture, making the company essential to American national security. But that same focus on engineering reliability blinded leadership to the consumer smartphone revolution. Lazaridis evaluated the iPhone as a network load problem rather than a shift in human behavior. When Steve Jobs unveiled the iPhone in 2007, Lazaridis dismissed the device as a technical impossibility that cellular networks could never support. This miscalculation set the company on a death spiral that cost shareholders $80 billion, yet it simultaneously triggered a hidden contingency plan. While the consumer empire collapsed, the boardroom became a site of systemic deception. For 10 years, senior leadership engaged in an illegal scheme to backdate stock options, generating millions in improper gains. The fallout resulted in the largest securities fine against an individual in Canadian history. In 2010, the company faced a coordinated ultimatum from governments in India and Saudi Arabia: provide access to consumer message traffic or face a total ban. To protect revenue, BlackBerry capitulated and provided the keys to state security services. By 2012, new leadership staked the company's survival on the Z10, a touchscreen device intended to compete directly with Apple and Android. Internally, sales data was catastrophic, with astronomical return rates. Management continued making optimistic public statements until September 2013, when they announced a $934 million write-down for unsold inventory. This period of deception was enabled by a dual CEO structure that allowed the founders to supervise themselves for 2 decades, with zero oversight from the board. The next era of leadership attempted to pivot into an AI cybersecurity empire, starting with the $1.4 billion cash acquisition of Cylance. 6 years later, BlackBerry sold that same company for $160 million. The move destroyed over $1.2 billion in shareholder capital. Management obscured the magnitude of this failure by phasing the accounting write-downs gradually across multiple quarters, rather than taking one visible, catastrophic charge. In contrast to the billion-dollar Cylance failure, the company's future was secured by a $200 million acquisition made years earlier, a safety-critical microkernel called QNX. QNX is an operating system built to run nuclear power plants, surgical robots, and air traffic control systems, environments where failure is not an option. By placing this bet on QNX, Lazaridis secured the safety-critical foundation that would eventually power the automotive industry, even as his smartphone business vanished. The structural moat protecting QNX is the ISO 26262 safety certification. Achieving this standard requires years of rigorous code auditing and regulatory validation. This represents a multi-year regulatory lockdown that prevents new competitors from disrupting the market, regardless of their technical speed. However, this deep integration creates a unique vulnerability. When software is embedded in a medical device or a car that lasts 15 years, it cannot be rapidly updated. In 2021, the FDA issued a cybersecurity advisory documenting buffer overflow vulnerabilities in legacy QNX code running inside hospital infusion pumps and patient monitors. Despite its market position, institutional investors still apply a discount to the company's stock due to persistent board-level conflicts of interest regarding debt holding. When a software vulnerability exists in infrastructure that cannot be patched, a coding error becomes a permanent threat to global physical systems. This narrative is a study in the dominance trap, a condition where absolute market control causes a company's internal culture to stop questioning its own reality. For BlackBerry, a decade of unchallenged success masked the arrogance and strategic denial that eventually destroyed their consumer business. Today, that same engineering foundation is being integrated with NVIDIA to serve as the safety layer for the next generation of autonomous vehicles. This is the physical AI future that QNX is designed to govern, where precision and reliability are the only metrics that matter. The autonomous vehicles and industrial robotics of the next 2 decades are being built on code from a company the world buried years ago. The question is whether the current leadership can execute on this second chance the engineers earned. Next week, we investigate why a Department of Justice lawsuit against Live Nation might not actually lower the price of your concert tickets. Subscribe so you don't miss it.